All right, Bob. Ray Donovan. We are going to go back to Ray Donovan. We had stopped for a week, but then we went back to the numbers and we found out that Ray Donovan was actually one of our more popular segments. So we are responding to you people, and we are
That's what
back.
we do. We pander to our audience. We're like the real life version of the newsroom, except for way smaller scale, and there's no conflict. We'll just do whatever you want us to do.
Anyway, um, yeah. So we're going to do episode 4 and 5 here, and just going to do it in the time of one, and see how it squeezes in, and we'll be back on track so we can get all your Ray Donovan recaps here at Practically Culture.
Yes.
Um, let's see. So, I mean, I most recently watched episode 5, and I feel like that's the main one I want to talk about, but we'll sort of reach back to episode 4. So, we start off, we got Ezra driving up above the city, and he hits something, and then he disappears.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's found at the hospital by Tasha Yar's his wife, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we first, because Ray goes and finds him, and we get the sense that he's trying to put on a routine to make everyone think he's lost his mind. At least that's what I thought.
Right. I thought it was going to be like this, he's really smart behind the scenes, but no, he's really losing it,
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah. My thought was this seems kind of weird for someone who's either a fixer or closely associated with a fixer. Sort of a weird panic move, right? But no, he's actually losing his mind. We get Ezra seeing that Mickey looks like a golem, and apparently put a tree in his trunk, not a dude, and we find out he has a brain tumor.
Yeah. And the show reveals those things not necessarily in that order, which is part of the problem. Because they use some special effects to show, like, Mickey turning into a tree right as Ezra's freaking out about him being a golem, and then the way that he hits the person on the road, it looks like a real person. And I have mixed feelings about shows that actually show the point of view from the crazy person. If you're going to do it, commit and make a show about it, or make it a part of the show. But this is just kind of the lazy version of that sort of stylistic thing for me. I didn't need to see any of that, and I felt it was sort of weird and took away from the real plot.
Well, it is weird, right? It's weird how we will let characters, the words out of their mouths, lie to us, but we can't put up with the visual, what we see on the screen lying to us, unless that's part of the bigger premise.
Right.
Like you were saying.
Yeah, I didn't. I guess that's true in a larger context.
I was just reading about how Alfred Hitchcock experimented with that, and he found that people would not put up with that. Anyway, so that's what I thought of when you mentioned that.
Yeah. So, but I wonder if in this case, do you feel like it was effective, or even keeping that in mind? I mean, I almost want to make a case that the show creators weren't as clever as channeling Hitchcock or anything like that, but what do I know?
Yeah, well, it felt like it wasn't fair. I agree. Because I'm like, wait a second, move that tree around. Where's the dude he hit? Because I swear he... Oh. Anyway, I don't know. I felt a little disoriented by it, I have to admit.
Right. And then the other thing about this was that for all the craziness of Ezra, and that being a huge part of this episode, guess what else Ezra did in this episode? Wow, he summed up in like 3 sentences talking to Mickey all of the baggage and history between him and Ray, and I couldn't catch it without like rewinding and watching it again. And even then I still couldn't quite catch it, and I don't remember exactly what was said, but I swear there was like 3 sentences that gave away a ton of stuff by the crazy person who you later find out you shouldn't be believing, and it's just like, what? That's
That's a really good point. We should compare notes on this one because I noticed the same thing. So what I thought he said was that Ezra and Ray framed Mickey for something, but they did it for his own good because he owed this guy Sully money who would have killed him or something like that, right?
That's what I got too, but it could have been because Mickey's still pissed about it, even though it was a for your own good, you would be dead otherwise. So Mickey still thinks that Ray and Ezra were doing this for their own gain and, to cover their own asses more so than anything. The point is like the show is not giving us a reason to care by withholding this for so long and bringing it out so haphazardly in that scene, when Ezra's like borderline crazy, and why would he invite Mickey in the first place, sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm glad to have it. You're right, but I could have easily missed it, and that would have been even worse. You're right. I don't think they did it great.
Yeah.
So let's. I want to talk about some of my overall impressions at this point of the show before
Okay.
we go back to some things. So, I'm getting a little bit tired of Liv Schreiber as Ray. I gotta say, too stiff, too opaque. I'm not completely over him, but I'm feeling like he's not popping out to me.
He's kind of got the same look for everything. It's like Ben Stiller and Zoolander when they like make fun of blue steel. It's like Ray's got the blue steel look for every nuanced, upset face. There's not much going on in terms of, and to Liv Schreiber's credit, or in his defense, I don't know what he's got to work with, but I want more.
Well,
I'm with
yeah,
you.
so it could be the writing. I mean, it could just be the writing. I haven't quite decided yet. And the thing about shows that I love is they have to have at least one or two elements that are great, that I just love. And this one has a lot that's good, but it doesn't have that one hook that really grabs me, that I really look forward to seeing, like a particular character or some really cool point of view that they have, or just this really fascinating premise that I'm still thinking about after the show ends. It doesn't have one of those things that really hooks me in yet.
No, I mean, worst case scenario, it's all regurgitated, taken from other shows type of plot points and story. Best case scenario, it's like a Me Too done really well. And even if you say it's a Me Too done really well, like you said, where's the angle? What am I seeing here that I haven't seen somewhere else, or that I wouldn't see somewhere else in a better fashion through other shows? And that's really hurting it, in my opinion. I don't know that they're going to have an extended following if they're just the Me Too Sopranos meets, whatever.
Entourage is what I feel
Entourage.
like.
Yeah.
I feel like because that's lifestyle porn, right? We can all fantasize about having a hot blonde chick just show up at our house and beg for us to fuck her.
And then handcuffing herself to the whatever in our bathroom, and then later we fuck her anyway, and it's like, oh, okay.
Well, he was having a really bad day too, I guess.
Yeah,
just
I guess so.
Like Marco in the bridge. So the one thing that does hook me a little bit is I'm kind of interested in this Ray and his dad trying to put each other in jail, but it's moving really slowly on that front.
Yeah.
I guess it's trying to give us room for to get to know the characters, to fall in love with them. I'm just not falling in love with the characters, so I wish they would get on with the plot a little bit more.
Yeah. I want to see what's going to happen with this FBI guy who can make crimes just go away, and has his basement porn of trying to capture criminals with the pictures on the wall with strings connecting them. I don't know. I
Like
just think
every
it's
movie,
funny.
I don't know if they actually do that, but every TV show and movie they do.
Right, exactly. And like, And the fact that he's got it in his basement and he's working alone, we don't know the whole story of his deal, but he seems to have a personal vendetta. Just get on with it. And then, are we going to talk about Ray's wife again?
Yeah, so those are my overall impressions. Now we can get to some specifics. Anything that pops out at you from the last two episodes. Tell me about Ray's wife.
Well,
Abby.
so Abby. So in this episode, we get her showing up at the office, and then she's supposed to wait there for Ray to show up because Ray gets a call from his office admin that's like, "Hey, your wife's here," and he's like, "Well, tell her I'll be there." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess that's an understanding. If she shows up, then Ray tries to get her out of there." But then she just starts futzing around and finds a key, and then figures out what the key is to. I guess she already knows, but she needs a key. It felt very like nonchalant, like, "Oh, well, I'm looking through this drawer. There's a key. Oh, I may as well go and check out where Ray lives in his alternate universe." Like, I couldn't quite piece
Yeah,
together what happened.
and I've watched enough Mad Men and had my wife with big corporate administrative assistants to know that no one would leave the wife just there alone in the office, just to
Right,
poke
like
around.
opening and closing drawers and looking at like files. Like, really? We'll just keep her in your office in the other room where I totally can't see her, Ray. Didn't make any sense at all. So there was that, and then she ends up finding out where he lives, when he's not living with her in his home with his perfect family.
And she
And
knows this
like,
place exists at least.
yeah, she knows it exists, but then in the end she's like, "Who the fuck are you, Ray?" Or like with her fake Boston accent, and it's just so like on the nose, like, "Oh, you discovered his apartment and they're asking this question in episode 4. This would be like season 4 of Mad Men, you know, like there'd be a lot more relationship developments
Yeah, they've
or
been married. This whole thing's been their life for like 10 or 15 years or something, and just now it's
right.
coming to her.
It's just yeah, exactly. And then Ray's crying and oh my goodness, I don't know what
Well,
to,
we
and then
know his issue, right? Because he has to be everyone's dad, and so he feels bad that he got the kids' parents killed that he bought.
oh yeah, and let's talk about that. The kids' parents that are dead that were killed by someone that I don't know who killed them for what reason other than the parents talk. There was a hint of like, well, the parents talked about the money, so therefore they deserve to die by some unknown assailant who kills people who talk about getting money for children. I didn't follow it. It was like 3 steps removed from a logical plot line that would
What,
make
did they just
showing that.
get all the money and have it in cash in their house? I mean,
Yeah, they got
you don't just go.
mugged.
Right. Anyway.
It didn't make any sense to me. So, and then I guess we should go back to uh, was it episode 4 or 3? Was the one before this one?
We just saw episode 5. So
Oh, we just saw episode 5. So 4 is when Mickey goes to visit Claudette and takes Bunchy with him, his son and his other son, and they sort of at first are like kids and they're getting on each other's nerves, but then they become friends. So with all this negativity, I only wanted to bring that up because I actually kind of liked that storyline. Independent of how it fits in with everything else, I just liked seeing them be kids and annoyed at each other and then end up becoming pretty good friends. And like where they're at the diner and Bunchy like whips out a bottle of wine and he's like, well, if you have to ask, then you don't. I love that scene. I thought that was great. Like they're on the same level. They get each other. They're enjoying each other. They just sat through being with you know, the second guy in Claudette's life or whatever, and I like that kind of stuff in the show when they do it, but unfortunately that's only one scene.
Yeah, but if we're going back to the 4th episode, I sort of liked the little mini storyline too of Ray's kid. I can't remember his name. Getting
Connor. Yeah.
Connor getting hazed and bullied at the school, and then him clocking the other kid with a brick. Yeah, we'll just shut that smug little son of a bitch up. I don't know. I just sort of enjoyed it for some reason.
Yeah, I was cool with that too. Actually, I thought that was a decent side plot. And then his daughter trying to get into that school. I guess that was a little over the top with Abby being like, "I'm from Boston," and being so starry-eyed about the prospects of her daughter and being annoyed at Ray who couldn't put his phone down. It's like so heavy-handed with this relationship and these scenes that are just like been done so many times before, so much better.
Yeah, it's really hard to be sympathetic for Abby. She just doesn't have any texture or nuance to her. She's just, the bitchy wife.
Right, and even when she tries to be nice, then she ends up not being nice. Like we have the scene with her sitting down with the life coach, and the life coach is actually trying to be encouraging and helpful. Maybe he was a little nosy by even normal standards, not just Abby's standards, but the way Abby treated her.
She doesn't want to live from an open heart, Bob. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Anyway.
One other thing. So we're always getting a better picture. It looks like that, especially Lee, is just a straight-up lawyer. I guess we see since Ezra was hospitalized or recovering, Lee brings Ray into this what looks like a divorce settlement conference, judging by the vitriol. Yeah. And Ray does his job, takes the cue, and threatens her with exposing her and it getting worse.
It's just so convenient though that Ray's always there to have like the backup dirt on the person, and he's the tough guy. He's just there to deliver that news. I don't know. It just feels like it wouldn't be that hard of a job, but I guess that's what they need is somebody like Ray who doesn't mind only doing those sorts of things, filming people when they don't know about it, and then using it against them later. That's basically his job. Because
he's not the kind of guy you fire, Bob.
Yeah, which is another great subtle line. I'm not the kind of guy you fire.
So yeah, 4 and 5. We're back in on Ray Donovan. Yeah, there's some things with some potential here. And as far as the do I spend most of my time happy or annoyed? Um, ah, it's hard. I'm having a hard time on that one. I think I'd like it more than I don't like it.
For me, it's funny because I feel like we just got done recapping and reviewing the newsroom, and I feel like the newsroom is starting to polarize me more toward a don't like than Ray Donovan, which is kind of ironic because I assumed the newsroom was going to be brilliant because of writing and witty dialogue, but Ray Donovan, for all of its trying too hard, maybe it's just that sometimes I watch it's at the same time slot, so sometimes I watch it right after the newsroom, but it's just like it's a well done Me Too, been there, done that, which we get it with movies all the time, but now we're starting to get it with TV shows. So that's what I'm feeling so far.
Yeah, and I feel like it's got some potential to really, we still have the middle and the end for it to show us, and I feel like that it hasn't disqualified itself from being a really good season of TV yet. So I'm still hopeful for that.
Yeah, me too. I'm hopeful, but realistically, not asking for much, I guess.